It started like any other morning, sunlight streaking across the intersection, a low hum of traffic, and a woman in a pale blue uniform scribbling calmly into her notepad. Lily adjusted her reflective vest, her tan cargo pants brushing lightly in the wind. Her light brown ponytail was tucked neatly under her cap, and the tight sleeves of her uniform shirt clung to her arms as she moved with quiet precision. To anyone watching, she was just another meter maid, writing tickets, managing flow, barely a blip in the city's chaos. But today, the city would remember her name, because in that moment, while the world looked past her, Lily looked up and locked eyes with a man behind the wheel of a black SUV. His expression? Cold, nervous, dangerous. He shouldn't have been here. She'd seen that vehicle before, lurking, circling, too close to the school, too often. She squinted, then her breath caught, a pale hand, small, trembling, pressing against the dark rear window of the SUV, barely visible, almost a whisper of a plea. Lily dropped her notepad. She didn't think, she didn't pause. She ran straight into traffic. "Stop the car!" she shouted, her voice piercing the noise. The SUV jerked forward. Tires screamed. Engines roared. People gasped. And in that single breath of hesitation, she did something no one expected from a woman they'd all ignored. She stepped in front of the speeding vehicle, arms raised, jaw clenched, eyes steady. That SUV was coming fast, too fast. Screams echoed across the intersection. A cyclist swerved. A child dropped his ice cream cone. And Lily? She didn't move. Because in her gut, she knew this wasn't just about parking tickets. This wasn't about traffic flow. This was bigger, darker. She could feel it. And just before metal met flesh, backup sirens howled in the distance. But to understand how Lily Morgan, a woman mocked for writing tickets, ended up face to face with a human trafficker at rush hour, you have to go back 3 weeks, back to where it all began. 3 weeks earlier, the sun hadn't even risen when Lily slipped into her light blue uniform shirt, tucking it crisply into her tan cargo pants. The fabric clung snugly to her form, outlining a woman who was strong but quiet. Cap low over her brow, reflective vest tight across her chest, she looked in the mirror and gave herself a nod. Another day, another corner, another 100 people who would never learn her name. Lily Morgan was a traffic officer, not a detective, not a sergeant, not a hero. Just the woman people scowled at when they saw a ticket on their windshield, and they made sure she knew it. Every day she patrolled downtown on foot, weaving through honking cars, school buses, and impatient business people. She monitored crosswalks, kept school zones safe, wrote citations with steady hands and no ego. But people didn't see that. They saw the vest, the notepad, the pretty blonde woman playing cop. "Hey officer, forgot your Barbie badge today?" One man joked as he sped off laughing. Another woman sneered, "Did your daddy get you this job?" Lily didn't respond. She never did, because this wasn't about ego for her, it was about purpose. What most people didn't know, what they didn't bother asking, was that Lily had grown up in a law enforcement family. Her father, a highway patrol officer, had been killed in the line of duty when she was 17. He'd been investigating a stolen vehicle linked to an abduction case. The case had gone cold, but the memory hadn't. After his funeral, Lily had promised herself she'd wear the uniform one day, not for status, not for pride, but to make sure no one slipped through the cracks again. She applied to the academy, passed with flying colors, but the only job opening in her district was traffic enforcement, and so she took it. Every morning she laced up her boots, knowing full well that the world wouldn't thank her, that people would laugh, that officers inside the station would call her ticket princess behind her back and never ask for her opinion. But she did the job anyway, because somewhere out there, someone was going to get hurt, and Lily would be the only one who saw it coming. She kept her head down, did her work, ate lunch on the same bench by the courthouse every day. No friends, no recognition, just a woman doing her duty while the world rolled its eyes. But beneath the calm exterior, something inside her was watching, waiting. She didn't know it yet, but a storm was coming, and when it did, the same people who mocked her for writing tickets would wish they had listened. It started as nothing, just another late model black SUV with tinted windows, parked illegally outside an abandoned building near 8th and Melrose. Lily approached the vehicle like she always did, calm, alert, not expecting much. Her boots tapped against the pavement as she pulled out her notepad, flipping it open with practiced ease. She raised her pen, but something made her stop. The vehicle wasn't running, the windows were up, no movement inside, and yet something felt wrong, the kind of wrong that made the back of your neck tighten. She circled the SUV once, no plates, not even a temporary sticker. Her brows furrowed. She stepped closer, trying to glance through the heavily tinted rear window. Nothing but black glass stared back. That's when she felt it. Eyes on her. She turned her head slightly, just enough to see someone across the street. A man leaning against a lamppost, pretending to smoke. He wasn't watching traffic, he was watching her. When Lily looked his way, he turned his head a little too quickly. She didn't write the ticket. Instead, she made a quiet note in her phone. Black SUV, no tags. Melrose and 8th. Driver possibly scouting area, 7:42 a.m. She watched the vehicle for another minute, and then it pulled away. No rush, no panic, just a slow, deliberate exit like it had accomplished whatever it came to do. Lily brought the incident up at briefing the next morning. I've seen this SUV a few times now. Same corner, always tinted windows, no plates. Might be worth checking out. The response? Laughter. Sergeant Dean, thick arms crossed, coffee in hand, chuckled. Lily, sweetie, unless that SUV has expired meters on all 4 tires, it's not your department. The room snickered. She looked around. No one was taking her seriously. Later that afternoon, she saw the SUV again, 2 blocks from a school this time. Same man outside, pretending to text, watching the school entrance like he was waiting for someone. Lily crossed the street, pretending to check her meter scanner. The man noticed. He vanished before she could get close. She wrote it down again. Seen near Hamilton Elementary, 2:54 p.m., man observing children. Same SUV, but she didn't just write it down. She started watching. Every day after her shift, Lily would walk a different route. Not for tickets, not for traffic, but to trace the pattern no one else seemed to see. And what she saw disturbed her. The same black SUV, different corners, same times. Always near schools, parks, or playgrounds. The same man, or sometimes another. Always lurking, always vanishing. Once she caught a glimpse of a young girl in the back seat. She looked scared. The moment their eyes met, the vehicle sped off. She reported everything, and still nothing. Another officer patted her on the back. You're wasting your time, Lily. You want real cases? Get promoted. But Lily wasn't looking for a promotion. She was trying to stop something, because deep down she could feel it now. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't paranoia. This was a pattern, and no one else was seeing it because no one else was looking. But Lily was, and she was about to get closer than she ever intended. By the end of the week, Lily had documented 5 separate sightings of the same SUV, each within walking distance of a school or park. The faces changed, sometimes a man, sometimes 2, but the vehicle was always the same: black, spotless, unmarked, no plates, no parking violations, no paper trail. Still, no one in the precinct seemed interested. To them, Lily was still just the traffic girl, the one who wrote citations and waved kids across the street. Not someone worth listening to, not someone worth believing. But Lily didn't stop watching. She started adjusting her patrol schedule, slipping in unofficial passes through the areas where the SUV had appeared. She logged the times, the locations, the patterns, and then one afternoon, she saw her, a young girl, maybe 13, standing nervously on the curb outside an old tire shop. She wasn't moving, no phone, no bag, just standing there, like she was waiting. Lily approached gently. Hey there, you okay? The girl didn't answer. She looked over her shoulder, then down. Before Lily could ask again, a black SUV turned the corner. And just like that, the girl bolted. Lily's heart jumped. She called it in. Suspicious activity near 10th and Birch. Possible juvenile at risk. But dispatch redirected her. Please leave it to patrol. Your beat is traffic enforcement. She watched helplessly as the SUV disappeared down the street. No sirens, no backup, just silence. Back at the precinct, Lily tried again. She showed them her notes, handwritten logs, photos, timestamps. One officer rolled his eyes. You have a lot of imagination for someone who writes tickets all day. Another chuckled. What's next? You joining SWAT? They didn't see the fear in her eyes. They didn't feel the urgency in her voice, but Lily did. So she stopped talking and started acting. She began walking her beat with her phone set to record. She wore a body camera, privately bought. She mapped school zones and traced the SUV's routes. She even logged missing child reports that matched the descriptions of the girls she saw. And the deeper she dug, the more her stomach twisted. The SUV wasn't just passing by, it was circling, hunting. The final straw came on a quiet Thursday. Lily had parked herself across from a shuttered warehouse, pretending to write up an abandoned moped. But she was watching, waiting. At 3:17 p.m., the black SUV pulled up. A man stepped out, looked both ways, then and popped the trunk. Lily saw movement inside. Quick, small, human. Her blood froze. She fumbled with her phone, activating the live stream. Her hand shook. Her pulse roared in her ears. Then the man turned and saw her. Their eyes met, and just like that, the trunk slammed shut. The man jumped into the driver's seat and took off. Lily didn't wait for orders. She didn't ask for permission. She ran straight to her patrol scooter, helmet on, engine roaring, because whatever was happening, it wasn't a hunch anymore. It was real, and she was the only one who knew just how real it was. It was a Friday, overcast sky, humid air, a kind of weight in the atmosphere that Lily couldn't quite explain. She was patrolling near Jefferson Middle School, an area she'd flagged multiple times before. Her tight-fitting light blue shirt clung to her back beneath her vest as she crossed the intersection on foot, scanning the line of parked vehicles without really seeing them. Something was off. She could feel it. She paused near a corner deli, pretending to inspect an expired meter, when she heard it, a muffled cry, faint, sharp, and gone as fast as it came. Her head snapped toward the sound. There it was again. She stepped closer to a dark alley behind the deli, her boots crunching the gravel. That's when she saw it, the black SUV. Same model, same window tint. This time parked halfway into the alley, engine running, back hatch slightly ajar. A teenage girl, barefoot, bruised, burst from the rear. Her eyes locked onto Lily. "Help me!" she screamed. Lily ran, but before she could reach her, the girl was grabbed, dragged back into the vehicle by a man in a gray hoodie. The hatch slammed shut. Tires squealed. The SUV peeled off, swerving into oncoming traffic. Lily didn't hesitate. She jumped on her patrol scooter, slammed the throttle, and shot into pursuit. The chase was chaos. Sirens still silent, traffic thick, her heart pounding. She weaved between taxis, shouted at pedestrians to move, and kept her eyes locked on the fleeing SUV. She didn't have backup. She didn't have clearance. But she had one thing no one else had. Proof. Her body cam was recording. Her phone had auto-synced the live stream to the precinct's central feed, and her voice, steady despite the adrenaline, was transmitting every detail over the open channel. Black SUV heading westbound on Marlowe. Possible kidnapping in progress. Suspect is armed. I'm in pursuit. Dispatch stuttered. Lily, you're not authorized, but she didn't stop. She closed the gap as the SUV hit a red light and veered toward a side street. Lily cut through a parked trail, tires bouncing over roots and gravel, emerging just in time to block the intersection. She dismounted mid-roll, standing firm in the middle of the road, hands raised, legs braced. Her fitted tan pants were streaked with dust, her shirt damp with sweat. She looked like she had nothing to lose. The SUV didn't slow down. People screamed from the sidewalks. Drivers slammed brakes. An elderly couple ducked behind their car, but Lily didn't move. 30 feet, 20, 10. Then, screeching rubber, the SUV jerked sideways and crashed into a hydrant, sending water gushing into the air. Lily reached for the door, just as the suspect leapt out and swung a wrench toward her head. She ducked, countered, slammed her knee into his ribs, and pinned him to the ground with one arm, the other pulling the zip tie from her belt. Seconds later, the girl inside the SUV unlocked the door from within, sobbing. Sirens finally wailed in the distance. Officers poured in from every direction, but it was over. Lily had done what no one else dared to do. She hadn't just chased a hunch. She followed the truth through mockery, through silence, through fear, and she brought it into the light. By the time the blue and white squad cars lined the street, a full crowd had gathered. Onlookers stood frozen, some filming, some whispering in disbelief. Officers swarmed the scene, weapons drawn, barking commands that were already too late. The danger had passed. Because one woman, one traffic officer they had all ignored, had ended it before they arrived. Lily stood over the restrained suspect, his face pressed against the pavement, wrists tied with the very zip tie she used to bundle illegally parked scooters. Her uniform was scuffed, dirt streaked her pale blue shirt. One sleeve was torn at the seam. Her ponytail hung loose and wild, but she wasn't shaken. She was calm, unmoving, focused. Inside the black SUV, officers found 3 girls. One of them had been reported missing a week ago from a town 2 hours away. The others were too shaken to speak, and all of it, every second, had been streamed live to the department's internal network, thanks to Lily's synced camera and quick thinking. For the first time, the station's phones weren't quiet. They were ringing off the hook. The chief of police arrived minutes later. He hadn't come for a parking ticket complaint. He came because the name Lily Morgan was now on every supervisor's desk. He walked straight up to her. "Are you okay?" he asked. Lily nodded, breath steady. "Yes, sir. They're safe." The sergeant who once called her Ticket Princess stood nearby, silent, red-faced, unable to meet her eyes. He'd watched the footage. He saw what she did, how she handled herself, how she chased, fought, and stopped something far bigger than any of them had anticipated. "We didn't know," he finally muttered. Lily glanced at him, her voice level. "You never asked." Later that evening, news vans lined the street. Local traffic officer uncovers human trafficking ring. Meter maid turns hero. The woman no one believed. She didn't smile at the headlines. She didn't pose for the cameras. Instead, she walked quietly to her locker, peeled off her reflective vest, and sat on the bench, alone, like she always did. Only this time, the precinct was quiet, respectfully quiet, and across the hallway, the chief leaned into his assistant and whispered something the entire department would soon hear. "She's not just a traffic officer, she's the best damn cop we've got." Because for the first time, they saw her for who she really was. Not a uniform, not a title, but a woman who saw what others missed and risked everything to stop it. 2 days later, the City Hall chamber was packed. The mayor stood at the podium, flanked by uniformed officers, council members, and rows of civilians who had come not out of curiosity, but out of respect. At the center of it all stood Lily. Clean uniform, tight-fitting light blue shirt, tan pants pressed sharp. Her hair was tied back neatly again, but her face bore the calm of someone who had walked through fire and returned standing taller. No one laughed this time. No one called her names. As the mayor stepped forward, the room went still. "Today we honor Officer Lily Morgan," he began, "for extraordinary courage, quick thinking, and the kind of moral clarity that defines what this badge is supposed to represent." He paused, looking at her. In the face of mockery, she stood firm. In the absence of backup, she acted. And when the lives of 3 innocent girls were on the line, she didn't hesitate. A thunderous round of applause followed, but Lily didn't soak in the praise. Her eyes scanned the crowd and landed on the back of the room where her former sergeant stood, hands folded, head bowed slightly. Nearby, the same officers who once rolled their eyes now nodded with quiet admiration. She stepped up to the microphone and spoke, not for the cameras, not for glory, but for every person who had ever been dismissed because of how they looked, what they wore, or what title they held. "I was told my job didn't matter, that I should leave the real work to someone else. But I didn't take this job for recognition. I took it because someone I loved once died doing what he believed in, and no one saw it coming until it was too late." Her voice caught slightly. She cleared her throat. "You don't need a gold shield to protect people. You just need to care enough to notice what others ignore." The audience was silent, moved. Then the police chief stepped forward with a small black box in hand. Inside, a silver medal gleamed under the lights. "For bravery, vigilance, and a commitment to justice far beyond your duty, the department is proud to present you this Medal of Valor." He pinned it to her chest, right above her heart. The applause that followed shook the room. And yet, even in that moment, Lily didn't beam or raise her fists like a champion. She stood steady because she knew this wasn't about the medal. It never had been. It was about the girl in the SUV, the one who looked at her and saw hope, and all the others still out there, waiting for someone to notice. Weeks passed. The city eventually settled back into its rhythm. Horns blaring in the morning, crosswalks buzzing with backpacks and briefcases, and traffic officers standing silently at their posts. But something had changed, and at the heart of that change was Lily. She still wore the same uniform, tight-fitting light blue shirt tucked neatly into tan cargo pants, vest strapped across her torso, boots laced up tight. But the looks she got now were different. Gone were the smirks, the sarcastic whistles, the muttered insults. People nodded, they smiled, some even stopped to say thank you. One morning, a mother approached her near the school gates. She didn't say much, just pressed Lily's hand gently and whispered, "My daughter was almost taken once." "What you did, it means everything." Lily nodded, quiet, grateful. She had transferred to a new department, not out of punishment, but by promotion. Now she worked with the missing persons task force, helping track patterns, reviewing footage, and connecting dots most officers missed. But she still requested to patrol part-time. She said the streets kept her grounded. Back at the precinct, her desk was moved, no longer near the back corner, but right near the squad leaders. Her name was mentioned during roll call now, not as a footnote, but as an example. And in the corner of the briefing room, a new poster had gone up. 3 missing girls, 3 recovered lives, all thanks to the one officer no one took seriously. That poster had her name at the bottom, Officer Lily Morgan, honor through action. On her days off, Lily started visiting local schools, speaking to teens about safety, courage, and paying attention to the world around them. She didn't lecture, she told stories, and the students listened because they could feel she wasn't just reading from a paper, she was speaking from something real. Even the sergeant who once mocked her now requested her input during meetings. Morgan, he'd say, "What's your gut tell you?" And sometimes she'd smile, just a little, before answering. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came one afternoon when Lily was walking her old beat, clipboard in hand, just like before. A little girl ran up to her, one of the girls from the SUV. She didn't say a word, just wrapped her arms around Lily's waist and held on. Lily bent down, met her eyes, and said softly, "You're safe now." That's all that matters. And in that simple embrace, under the shade of a downtown tree, it was clear. Lily hadn't just taken down a criminal, she had restored something far more powerful. Faith. Faith in the people we overlook. Faith in the power of paying attention. Faith that even one quiet woman with a notepad and a whistle could rewrite the ending, because she had. Have you ever judged someone based on their uniform? Dismissed them because of how they looked, or what you assumed they could or couldn't do? Most people looked at Lily Morgan and saw a traffic officer with a clipboard, a woman in fitted khaki pants and a light blue shirt handing out parking fines. They never saw the strength, they never saw the courage, they never even asked, until the day she stood in front of a speeding SUV and saved 3 lives. You see, appearances can be deceiving. Titles don't always tell the whole story, and the person you ignore today might be the one who saves you tomorrow, because real power doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes it wears a reflective vest and walks across intersections with quiet determination. So the next time you see someone doing a job you think is beneath you, stop, watch, think, because they just might be someone like Lily Morgan, someone who's not there for attention or applause. Someone who's watching what others ignore. And when the time comes, they won't run from danger, they'll run straight into it. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Tell us in the comments, have you ever been underestimated or misjudged someone only to be proven wrong? And remember, kindness never goes out of style, and dignity, that's earned, not worn.